Welcome back to the One in a Million channel. My name is Eunice, and it is my pleasure to have you here today. So, today we are going to dive into a very expansive topic that I've been wanting to share for a while. And finally, today I have the words and the thoughts together how to be more tapped into the present and how to live more in the present moment. It has been talked about so much, but I have found that it is not until I really extracted my own personal experience and insights that I feel like I really have the capacity to talk about it in a way that I feel is really going to change your world. So if you are someone who wants to really experience the present moment, you want to experience the moment in a transcended way, and you want to feel more of the magic of your life from a moment to moment basis, then I think this video is really going to be for you. To learn to be in the moment can be a very vague concept to so many people. And I know like it was definitely the case for me. It was very hard for me to understand, like intellectually and emotionally and in my body and spiritually, to understand what it's like to be in the moment, where I'm just like so puzzled until I started to get the hang of it. And from the moment when I didn't get it at all to the moment I started to get the hang of it, it took a very long time for me to get there. And it took a very long time for me to like just grasp, what did that really feel like? My intention is to talk about it in such a way that you would understand the implications of living in the present moment so that you can understand how you can do it, and so you can have the experience of the present moment without just like following the how-tos. So I'm going to talk about the principle behind it. So, and what goes on, what actually goes on when you're present in your life. You can really understand the relationship of you and the external world. This is going to be so important when you understand this part of your relationship of the inner and outer world, because this is what actually makes your presence. Now, I have heard a lot of gurus and a lot of internet resources talk about how to just be here and now, not to be in the future, not to be in the past, right? But there's so much that is involved. Like there's actually a lot of implications that are involved in being in the here and now that makes us live differently in a certain way. What I was really interested in when I was exploring the topic of like what does it mean to be more in the present, what I was really interested in is like, what does it mean for me? How would I live? What would my life look like? And so these are some of the things that I want you to be able to answer for yourself and get clarity of when you're able to understand this balance and the relationship of your inner and outer world. A lot of times when we try to understand the present moment is that we try to understand it based on time. We understand it in the context of being here and now, not to be in the future and the past. But what I've realized is presence is actually so much more than that. And of course, when we're in the future and the past, we are in our minds, right? But there's more. When we are in our presence, what it truly means is that in this moment, my inner world corresponds to what's happening in the outer world. And my observation of the outer world, I have an insight, I have an inner experience of that in my inner world. So that I'm actually processing what's happening in the outer world, and I'm also having an awareness of what's happening in my heart, what's happening in my emotions, what's happening in my thoughts. So when I understood it, not in the context of time, but in the context of my being, in the context of my presence, in the context of my engagement, like what I could actually do to engage in the moment, then that changed the entire game for me. The way that I understand presence is that presence is actually a verb. It's something that we can actually engage ourselves in. It's the interaction that's happening in my inner and outer world. So what I'm observing in my outer world, I am aware of it and I am paying attention to it. And that simultaneously at the same time, I'm also paying attention to what is happening inside of me, so that I have a means to respond, so that I have a reaction, so that I am aware of my thoughts. I'm able to distill like what I'm feeling and thinking so that I can actually say that outwards. So now we are going to dive into the tips to help you stay more in the present. When you're able to do these things, you are then actually living in the present moment. You don't have to try not to think about the past and the future. It's that simple. So tip number 1 is allowing spontaneity in your life. I want to ask you, how many times in your life have you like suddenly thought of something? You had an inspiration, you had a spur of thought, you had an idea, and then you want to do something just like impulsively, but then in comes the calendar, in comes the reminders, in comes the agenda and the schedule, and then all of a sudden you remind yourself, oh, can't do that because I gotta stick to the schedule. What spontaneity actually is, and the reason why I put it in the first thing of the order is because a lot of times you will have an impulse to do something. You will have a tug, you will have a pull, you will have the inspiration that comes to you, and you can't plan these things. You can't plan when the inspiration is going to come. You can't plan when the idea is going to come. You can't plan like when the things are going to come to you, the creativity. You can't plan how that's going to happen. The magic of those things is that it happens whenever it does. So the beauty of spontaneity is for us to actually follow the impulses, to follow the pulls of these signals so that there's magic when we follow the lead. But when we're so fixated on, okay, well, I've got to keep the structure and the structure has got to be immaculate and we cannot change a thing, we've got to strictly adhere to this thing, then how do we allow any magic in our lives? How do we expect that we can respond to our inner world? We can respond to the inner pole and manifest that into the outer world. So we're talking about this active engagement of the inner and outer world. What I'm feeling on the inside, do I allow myself to express that? Do I allow myself to pursue that? So this is the opportunity for you to actually find places, find opportunities in your life where you can learn to allow some of these responses to come through, allow a bit more like spontaneity, allow more impulses, allow more intuitive pulls to happen in your life and actually see them through and watch how the magic unfolds. This is going to be so powerful, you guys. Once you start living in this spontaneity, you will realize, oh my gosh, there is so much room for expansiveness in my life. And this doesn't mean that, you need to toss your schedule out the window. It doesn't mean that you invite, all the chaos all of a sudden in your life. It just means that they open a bit more space so that you can experience the magic of the present moment, and that when the impulses hit you, you can actually enjoy and appreciate what that is there for you. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to have acceptance, to accept what is currently happening. We cannot change what has already happened, right? What has already happened is in the past, and the consequences of how things happen and how things unfolded is here in front of us. The only thing we can really do is have a response to, like an inner response to that, is to continue to engage with it in a way that is in alignment to us in where we want to go going forward. The thing that doesn't help is when we deny what happens, like when we're in like denial, when we don't want to admit what happened, when we don't want to look at it, when we're looking away, we're trying to distract ourselves, we're in resistance of it, then we're basically pushing away the current reality, and we're also not allowing ourselves to generate an internal response to go forward. So this creates a lot of resistance. This is a thing that actually takes us away from the present moment, because instead of actually dealing with it, we're delaying, we're trying to push it away, we're trying to deny it, we're trying to look away, we're trying to distract ourselves, but that's not helping, because our internal response is already generating the negative response. It's like, I don't want to deal with this. And the external world is showing you, well, that's what it is. That's not going anywhere. If anything, it will probably continue to unfold until you decide that you're going to face it. So acceptance is one of those beautiful things where you can actually sit with what happened. Yes, even though it is not ideal and we don't want this to happen, we can still allow ourselves to have the best emotional response to handle, to deal with what is happening in front of us right now, so that we can stay present to the situation. We can stay present and attentive to ourselves, so that these two worlds can merge together to come to a solution, and then you're able to move forward instead of living in resistance of it. Tip number 3 is to get to know yourself on a deeper level. Now, the reason I say that is because your presence in the moment is built out of two things: your engagement with the outer world and your engagement with the inner world, and the engagement of the both. When we stop getting to know ourselves, because we have known ourselves all the way up till this point, and we assume that we already know ourselves, we assume that we like these things, we assume that this is how we're going to react, because we have built all these assumptions about ourselves, we stop getting to know ourselves. But what I realize is that we are actually changing from one moment to the next. Like, who I am right now is not the same as the version of myself from the previous moment. It's not the same version of myself even before I started this video. The moment I click the video, I am a different version of myself, and I am the version of myself that has, created this video already, for example. So I have changed. I am different. With that new experience and with every passing moment, we are reinventing ourselves, even though we think that we're staying the same. So when we don't allow ourselves to get to know ourselves on a deeper level, and we make these assumptions of like, this is exactly who I am, this is how I stay the same, this is how I make decisions, and this is how I like to live my life, and this is my identity and my character, blah, 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 then we are no longer truly engaging with our inner world. Then all we're doing is just like giving a template of who we are. Then we're really not living in the present moment. Living in the present moment allows us to continuously check in. How am I feeling right now? Okay, feeling a little difficult. I'm not really sure what's this feeling. I've never really felt this way before, or like this is a reoccurring feeling. Let me get some clarity of it, right? And this gives you new revelations about yourself, and the new revelations about yourself and the new knowledge about yourself is what's going to allow you to have new information, to have new character, to respond to the outer world in a whole new way. This, my friends, is your presence. It's responding to the world based on who you really are now, not responding to the world based on who you were like 10 versions ago or 10 years ago. It's constantly getting to know yourself, checking with yourself, feeling into your heart and getting to know yourself, having clarity, clearing your mind, aligning with your heart. And then you can have the right, proper, aligned response to what's happening in front of you. So don't stop getting to know yourself, and don't make assumptions. So tip number 4 is create new experiences. Now, the reason I say that, this is very practical advice, you guys. Like, a lot of times, some of my clients tell me, I experienced this one thing, with my friends, and I had this holiday that I went on, and it was amazing, and I just want to recreate this thing, or like that program sold out and it sold out, it was amazing. I followed these exact strategy and these steps. And if I just follow them in the same way, then it's going to work out. And I had this business plan, blah, blah, blah. And if I followed the exact same way of launching and selling and coaching my clients, then we're going to have the exact same results. But what I'm telling you right now is it only worked because you were present. It was only fun for you because you were present. The experience was only magical for you because you were present. If you were to follow the exact same steps and you were to do it all over again, if you were following it to a T with the same people, with the same elements, with the same arrangement, you're still going to find that it is not the same thing. You're going to end up with a completely different experience. Why? Because you're lacking presence. And the reason why, when we try to recreate experiences, it really doesn't help, it doesn't work, is because it's lacking our presence. It's lacking the moment of, what am I feeling right now? Well, this is the first time I'm experiencing everything. This is the first time I'm like handling the situation. This is the first time I'm digesting this. Oh my gosh, this is new for me. All of these newness comes from being really present right now, because your internal world does not know. It's having a genuine first response. But when you have experienced something before and you're experiencing something again, your internal world already knows. Like, I know what to expect. I know what I experienced last time. Like, I already knew. So this, like, I already know, takes away the present moment. It takes away your presence. It takes away like the figuring things out. It takes away the I wonder what it's going to be like. So it's not going to be nearly as fun as when you do it the first time. So what do? I always tell my clients, do it all over again, but do it new. Do it as though you have never experienced this before, and do it in an entirely new way. Don't try to recreate it again, because no two moments are the same. Even though you think that you're the exact same person, the version of yourself that experienced this event last time, the same time last year, the same season, with the same person, with the same partner, to the same city, going to the same restaurant, it's not going to be the same. So allow yourself to create new experiences. Even if you were to go to the same restaurant, choose a different seat, choose a different food, speak to a different waiter, try something new. Like, try something that you've never tried before. Like, literally just for the sake of creating the new experience, because when you allow yourself to have the new experience, all of a sudden you are back in your body. All of a sudden, you're not just reliving and recreating a memory. You are living something new. You are creating a new memory. You are collecting new data about yourself. And if you didn't know that you liked that thing before, well, now you know. Now it is a part of your reality. Now you have called in something new into your reality. Why? Because you chose to create a new experience. So I hope that these 4 tips were helpful for you to come into a place of living in your own presence and understand the interrelationship, the interactions between your inner world and the outer world, and that you understand how to smoothly integrate these two realities so that you can continuously live in the now, continuously have an engagement with the external reality, and be in enjoyment of it. So that is all I have for you guys today. This was so much fun. Oh my gosh. Tell me what you guys think. Like, let me know if this way of interpreting the present moment resonates with you. Thank you so much for being here. Take care, and I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Ciao.